content till they achieve perfection to the hilt. Mr. John Bailey belongs to this special class of achievers. Gentlemen, give him a hand on this. Creativity, innovation, and artistic expression are the hallmarks of excellence in filmmaking. Besides these, a filmmaker must have a robust common sense to understand the taste and requirements of a discerning audience. This is what helps him in bringing out a product par excellence. Statutory bodies such as CBFC and FCAT also have a role to act as a catalyst in encouraging good films. However, this is a subject which I think very often said by others as Prasoon Joshi, and I should take care of it. I wish to say it here, Dr. Prasoon Joshi, and he has achieved this distinction and deserves to be congratulated on that. Today we are going to have an opportunity to share Mr. Bailey's experience and get an insight into what goes into making films which get acclaim and recognition and possibly win Oscars. Ladies and gentlemen, the pearls of wisdom deserve to be cherished, enjoyed, and retained, as one would enjoy, if I may say so, the Irish belly, without its toxic effects. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Serene, and I would in fact request you to stay back on stage because I would be inviting. All right, so before we proceed further with other parts of the function, I would like to first invite Mr. John Bailey on stage to address all of us, and as Justice Serene said, we
A bigger round of applause, I think, is needed here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. I'd like to thank Secretary Khare and the Ministry of Broadcasting and Information for inviting us here today. This has been an incredible experience for us in 5 days in 3 cities and several dozen encounters and meetings with students and filmmakers. This has been an absolutely revealing, awesome experience for us. I'd also like to acknowledge our guide and mentor here who has put all this together in record time. Ujwal, would you stand? We'd just like to acknowledge you.
Thank you so much. Ujwal is a member of the Academy, class of 2017, I believe, one of 26 Indian members of the Motion Picture Academy. And one of the things we talked about earlier in the meeting we had right before we came here is how can we increase the exposure not just of Indian cinema to the world, but to Indian filmmakers. And the easiest way is for those 26 or 27 Indian members to nominate for membership other Indian filmmakers. It's the best way. You know, in 1 year you could double your membership, in 2 years you could quadruple it. So we talked about that a lot. We talked about a lot of ways to increase the exposure of Indian cinema internationally. And I have to confess one thing to you. Like many American, especially Hollywood mainstream filmmakers, I've started from ground zero. If you want to talk about the history of cinema in terms of American cinema or the French New Wave or the French Poetic Era, if you want to talk about Italian neo-realism, especially I love Japanese films, if you want to talk about post-war Japanese cinema and the films of Ozu or Mizoguchi or Kurosawa, We can do that. But I'll confess to you right now that what we know and what so many of our colleagues in the Academy know about Indian cinema is so little. So this has been kind of mind expanding for me from when I first started to do a little bit of research, and I discovered that the history of Indian cinema is every bit as early as it was for America and France and several other countries. And as we saw in the capsule history, the fact that Dada Shahib Phalke made the first feature film in 1913 shows the long history of Indian cinema. And one of the small things that I noticed reading about him and his decision to make films is 2 years before, in 1911, on Easter Sunday, he went with his parents to see a film on the life of Christ. That film was made in 1907 by the French filmmaker Alice Guy Blaché, who, along with Méliès and the Lumière brothers, was one of the founders of French cinema. So I find it very interesting that the founder of Indian cinema was deeply influenced and made creative decisions about his life on the basis of having seen a French film. I mean, we're all colleagues, we're all together in this incredible experience. And I look forward to us moving forward. The 3 cities, the 5 days we've spent here have just begun to open a window for us into Indian cinema. And we look forward to expanding that, continuing our discussions and our dialogue. I am a cinematographer. I'm not an executive, I'm not an administrator. I'm only the 2nd president of the Academy that has come from what they call the crafts, production design or editing or sound, visual effects, in my case, cinematography. And Carol, who is a fellow governor, is one of the 3 governors in the film editors branch. We have been married for 47 years. We've worked on many films together. And as I said at the Cannes Film Festival, you know, cinema is not our profession, it's our life. And this is how we have lived our life, making movies, and we're so proud to be here. Carol, would you like to say a few things?
I would just say in respect for all of you, this has been an extraordinary experience. In 5 days, I think that a new world has opened up to both John and myself. And we look forward to the exploration and the discovery of Indian cinema, which is so incredibly rich. It's an extension of centuries of your tradition of storytelling, and we acknowledge that, and we are very, very humbled by it, and can see that more and more we want to have a contact with the people who make Indian movies today and be a part of your expansion also into our world. I think that in these days of so much strife and misunderstanding, one way that we can reach each other is through film. I sincerely believe that, and I think that John and I can be a part of that. So thank you very, very much.
And just one last thing. The Academy 3 years ago started an initiative called A2020. And the goal for the Academy by the year 2020 was to double the membership in the Academy in diversity. And that is obviously inviting more women into all 17 branches of the Academy, but it's also a commitment to diversity in language, diversity in film cultures around the world. And I can very simply say, on the little bit that I've learned here, discovering the diversity of Indian cinema, the fact that I believe you have 36 states, your films are made in like 23, 24 languages. I mean, when the Academy is thinking about diversity, I can think of no country in the world that represents the opportunities and the challenges of diversity and unifying us all through diversity than in India. So congratulations to all of you.
I request you both to kindly stay on the stage as we move on for the second part of our function. And for this, I would like to request Mr. Amit Khare, Justice Manmohan Sareen, Mr. John Bailey is already here, and Shri Prasoon Joshi, and Mr. Prakash Megdam, the Director, National Film Archive of India. And now we are going to unveil the Hindi edition of the book, Digital Dilemma. And this is, in fact, a publication of Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, and it is authored by Mr. Milton R. Schefter. Yes, sure, please.
You know, I mentioned our host and the gentleman who has put this all together, this trip, Ujwal, who is not only a member of the Academy, but he was very instrumental in both the Hindu and the Marathi translations of the Digital Dilemma. And he's so gifted and has been so committed to all of this. And I just want to acknowledge you and the tremendous amount of work that you've done.
So now we're going to unveil the Hindi edition of Digital Dilemma. Actually, this publication is a landmark report in which Academy Science and Technology Council has examined ways in which key players in the movie business currently store and access important digital data. The publication discusses the challenges of efficiently archiving and accessing of the massive data in the long term. This publication has been translated in many languages world over. National Film Archive of India, a premier organization in film preservation of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, signed an MOU with Academy to translate the publication into Hindi so that it can benefit various stakeholders in the country. And since we have so many filmmakers and students of filmmaking here, I'm sure this is going to benefit most of you. So it is the National Film Archive of India which has taken the initiative and done the translation of this book in Hindi. Do you want to say a few words on this? Ujwal, all right. Mr. Ujwal has been instrumental in this whole project of translation, actually. Yes, we are going to have an interactive session where we can also have views from Mr. Ujwal. Okay, well, thank you all. Yes, I request Mr. Bailey and Ms. Littleton to kindly stay on stage along with Mr. Prasoon Joshi. In a few minutes,